Get in, let me take you home. Single mom helps an old man walk in the rain. The next day, The rain fell in broad daylight, heavy and unexpected, turning the busy street into a river of reflections and regret. People rushed past with umbrellas and impatience, but one figure moved slowly against the current, an old man, soaked, trembling, and stubbornly upright, as if dignity alone were holding his spine together. A car slowed beside him, its engine humming like a hesitant heartbeat, and in that ordinary moment, a life quietly bent toward a miracle. If you believe kindness still matters and second chances can arrive without warning, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Midnight Tales right now. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and sometimes a single act of belief can travel farther than we imagine. Myra had learned to measure her days by small victories. Getting her son to school on time. Stretching a paycheck until it sighed. Keeping her head up when the world leaned heavy. That morning had started like any other. Sunlight promised calm, the radio murmured news she couldn't afford to worry about, and her mind ran through errands and responsibilities like a prayer she'd memorized. Then the sky cracked open without asking permission. Rain turned sidewalks slick and tempers sharp. Traffic snarled. The day changed its mind. She saw him through the blur of her windshield. The old man's coat was too thin for the weather, it seems dark with water, his shoes slipping at every step. He held a folded paper tight to his chest as if it were a compass. Myra's foot eased off the gas before she thought about why. Her chest tightened with a familiar ache, the kind that came from remembering how it felt to be invisible. She pulled over, hazard lights blinking like a small promise. She watched him approach the car with a cautious dignity, rain sliding down his lined face. He didn't beg. He didn't ask. He simply stood there, breathing hard, the city moving around him as if he were a fixed point time had forgotten. Myra unlocked the door. The old man climbed in with care, water dripping onto the mat, the smell of rain and old books filling the car. She handed him a towel from the back seat, the one she kept for her son's soccer practices, and started driving toward the address he showed her on the paper, written in a neat, old-fashioned hand. The road took them through neighborhoods that told stories in peeling paint and hopeful gardens. Myra felt the quiet weight of responsibility, the kind that settles when you choose compassion over convenience. The old man sat with his hands folded, eyes fixed on the passing streets, as if each corner carried a memory he wasn't ready to touch. When they reached a modest apartment building, she helped him out, steadying his arm as the rain softened into a gentler insistence. He nodded, gratitude pressed into his posture, and disappeared inside. Myra waited a moment, watching the door close, then drove away, the rain thinning as if it had said what it came to say. That night, Myra counted coins at her kitchen table. The fridge hummed. Her son slept with the peaceful seriousness of children who trust tomorrow will arrive. She didn't expect anything to come of what she'd done. She rarely did. Kindness, she believed, was not a transaction, it was a decision you made and carried quietly. The next morning arrived bright and unapologetic. Sunlight washed the city clean, and Myra felt the familiar tug of bills and deadlines. She dropped her son at school and headed to work, rehearsing apologies for being late, when her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She ignored it at first. Then it buzzed again. By the third time, something told her to answer. By noon, she stood in a lobby she'd only ever seen in magazines, light spilling from glass walls onto polished floors. Her reflection looked out of place, practical shoes, tired eyes, but she stood tall anyway. A receptionist led her to a conference room where a small group of people waited with expressions that balanced respect and relief. At the head of the table sat the old man, dry now, transformed by a clean coat and a posture that carried authority like a quiet crown. He rose slowly when he saw her, and in that moment, Myra understood that yesterday's rain had been a veil. He was not just an old man struggling against the weather, he was a founder who had stepped away from the world he built, a man who had watched success hollow into loneliness. The paper he'd clutched was a list of addresses he hadn't visited in years, a map back to something human. He spoke of a test he'd set for himself without drama, of walking through the city to see who would see him. Myra listened, heart steady, as the truth settled like sunlight. He explained that the company bearing his name had drifted far from its values. He had returned to choose differently. He spoke of a scholarship fund for single parents, of flexible work hours, of childcare partnerships. He spoke of Myra not as a savior, but as a reminder. When he finished, the room seemed to exhale. The offer he made was practical and astonishing, support that would ease her burdens without erasing her pride. Myra left the building dazed, the city brighter than she remembered. The world hadn't changed overnight, but her place in it had widened. She walked to her car with a careful joy, the kind you cradle because you know how easily it can break. She thought of her son's future, of mornings without panic, of evenings where exhaustion didn't own her. She thought of rain and how it reveals what the sun hides. As days turned into weeks, the changes took root. The scholarship lifted a weight from her shoulders. A new job within the company valued her experience and her time. The old man visited the office sometimes, not as a figurehead but as a listener, his eyes softer now, his steps measured by purpose rather than pride. Myra never told the story loudly. She lived it quietly, letting gratitude shape her days. Just before the ending, please leave a comment sharing a moment when a small act of kindness changed your life. Your words might be the light someone else needs today. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that daylight can still hold miracles and rain can still carry grace, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps Midnight Tales bring more stories that honor kindness, courage, and the unseen threads that connect us all.